Alright, welcome back to the Rising Empires League. And we've got Division 2 games here between Team Real and Team 7 Town Centre Gigachads. With Team 7 Town Centre Gigachads consisting of Royal Pleco, here in the red trunks on the French, there's ally only cams, in the pink trunks on Ottomans, up against Real Team as Altair 2.0 as the blue French, Vortex Reload as the light blue English, and we got Barracks first here with Vortex Reload. No early Barracks option for either of our 7 TC GC players. So we're here today on Arabia, Team Edition, with the Vanguard Man-at-Arms heading across the field, just with crappy Age 1 stats for this fella. Another one in production now for Vortex. So there is a frontside gold mine for our French player as well, so if there was a map to do this on, this would be it. Or a map seed to do this on. Man-at-Arms taking a tiny amount of damage, but it's pretty inconsequential. So Pleco gonna have to try and micro the villages out of there, and he will do. Vortex finding out he's probably best off actually trying to hit from here, especially because that village is on the far side. So Cams is going to try and interrupt this with his scout, but the scout's going to have to back out against the Man-at-Arms eventually. Though he will regenerate, although Man-at-Arms won't. So Vortex going to start on a gold mine now, start his own gold gathering. It's going to be a little while here before he's actually able to get a huge amount of value out of this. Two Man-at-Arms trying to work away at the villager there, but Vortex is having to be very careful and try not to overextend here because he doesn't want to lose them. These are 120 resources each, which is an awful lot, especially in Age 1. Well, there is a school of cavalry on the way for Pleco, and only Cams in the meanwhile, adding his twin minaret Madris to a nice mill building that also constantly grows berries. Got a school of cav here for Altair, so he is gonna go on the mill as well. But Pleco not actually starting on a mill, and nor is Vortex going for such early pressure. With the Man-at-Arms, set him back a little bit relative to the others. Big resource commitment already from him. So he's age up, the latest of all the players. He's still able to put a little bit of pressure on here. They're just trying to maximize the amount of value of his Man-at-Arms here, but ultimately the village is able to finish him off without dying. So Pleco has managed to kill both the Man-at-Arms without so much as dropping a villager. But bearing in mind he's got a lot of low villagers now and had to commit a lot of gatherers to trying to get the school of cavalry up a little bit quicker, trying to swap villagers over at the gold mine. So his food eco has taken a little bit of a hit here, and now he's not able to spam out a knight straight away. Wow. Altair is able to do exactly that. He's taken his school of cavalry, he's already halfway produced the second knight, so he's over a 1 knight ahead of Pleco here at the moment. It looks like Only Cams is sort of being ignored for the moment because Altair is looking to punish Pleco now that he's the slightest bit behind because of that harass from Vortex. And he is looking to go for a outpost here on the gold mine. But all the villagers mining are all full health ones, so this is very smart. 4 out of 5 of the damaged villagers are already back under the town center. Extremely hard to bring down. So there's one of the low villagers at the tower here. Altair is not able to get on top of it. Pleco forcing him back. Defending well through all this. Cam's also trying to assist with his scout where he can. While getting double military school for double free unit production. At the barracks so he can upgrade his spears. And taking a blacksmith so he can speed up the production of his military schools. So Vortex and Altair are still just putting together a force. Now we've got Vortex starting to add some archers. They've been a bit delayed obviously because of his barracks aggression early on. Altair getting close. But Pleco with some good garrison skills there. Although now he's going to be zoned off the gold mine because these longbows are slightly going to outrange the tower from there. But Cam's mustered up a force. He's got his Meta, he's got Sipahi and a pair of spears there. So he's going for double Sipahi production out of the military school. Not having to really worry too much about having to spam units out of every single building and be able to pay for them. He's going to be able to train some for free. So Pleco is going for it. And able to hit the scout there. Still hasn't got chivalry. One of the spears of Cam's being picked off now. Vortex looking to put a forward tower. Being the English, he'll be able to reap the benefit of extra attack speed. Once he's got that up. It used to be 25%, now it's only 15%. Villagers at the back of the base copying it a little bit. I do wonder if Pleco isn't best off trying to... Yeah, he will do. Send a single knight or even a pair of knights to go and hit that while keeping most of the army here along with Vortex so that they can just really force Pleco and Only Cams to keep everything here. Meanwhile, potentially get a kill or two out of this. So, villagers evacuated. Looks like the knight only charging into a full health villager there, so not going to get a one-shot, one-kill. And Vortex relishing in the fact that he's got the ranged advantage here. But bearing in mind there are now imams over here for Only Cams, so he'll be able to heal his allies and his own units through all this. And there is also increased ranged armor from one of these meta war drum bangers. These guys providing some nice buffs to their allies. The outpost now finishing up. Vortex trying to harass with his scout, but he's got to back off. Only getting a little bit of damage done because Pleco's just selecting the villagers onto him and driving him away. Pleco now taking the fight to Team Real, but losing a knight in the process. Seems like Pleco's actually still staying vigilant here at the top of the map. Looks like Only Cams is trying to work towards Castle Age, considering he's got a little bit more in the bank than everybody at the moment, but not looking to actually spend it. Really just relishing the fact that he's got double superheat production for free, getting a last pair of archers now, and probably just holding on to try and take semi-quick Castle Age over everyone else. It does look like everyone is about to start saving up a bit more. Vortex's scout being killed off there. At the same time, he and Altair are just pushing forward. They might be able to take this tower out. There's no upgrade on it for arrow slits at all. No villages around to easily garrison in it. French player for 7 TC Gigachads, who at the moment are only on 1 TC each. Having to expand onto the hunt there. So maybe a good idea if, while this little push at the front's going on, that these guys keep trying to poke and prod at this rear side economy. Because Pleco is still seemingly holding on quite well. Well, Vortex is actually hunting at the moment, and Only Cams is raiding Altair's base at the moment. He's going to get a number of villages with this. So even with the town center almost completely garrisoned, it's taking forever to kill these guys. One of the Sipahi finally going down, but there's been 4 or 5 villages killed there. And Altair, even more villages at risk now. So this is not good for him. So even only the pair of knights aren't going to be able to clean all this up. So another pair of villages getting picked off. The rest of the knight squadron being forced to come and intercept this. But with the metal war drums, they actually are going to struggle to catch that. So, what are you doing? Only Cams, bring this guy back and you can speed up the whole army. I was going to say, if he has this guy in range and he's got the Vizier power, let's see which one he's chosen. He's got field work. Oh, he's got Anatolian Hills. Okay, if he had to go on meta drums, he wouldn't be catchable. Because basically these guys would all have 15% increased speed. On top of whatever fighting bonus the meta war drums are actually applying. And it looks like we've got Castle Ages on the way with Mehmed Imperial Armory for Only Cams. So I think the others will all be a little way off that. Altair was probably the next closest. And he is adding another stables here. Basically just been massing knights. Pleco, a pair of knights here, trying to possibly raid and unsettle this food economy. In fact, Pleco and Vortex aren't going to see each other here. And I think this is going to be really good for Pleco, because he'll be able to run down these villages. The cavalry are much faster. And Vortex being spotted here by that other scout. So all this is going to evacuate, not be under any threat. Enough knights here. This 2 spears isn't going to be able to deny that. But Pleco's actually gone straight past the hunt here. He's probably best off just going straight onto it rather than trying to wrap all the way around and go on the hunt at the back. 2 spears being cut down. Those 4 bows are going to go down pretty much for free. And Pleco, no chivalry upgrade yet. Hasn't needed it because he has been benefiting from healing from his teammate. But now these imams out in the field to grab relics because he's gone for that quick castle age. So I guess that's another benefit of going with the field work in Vizier tech. So you don't have to spend on imams as well. But he's actually going to try and risk going for the conversion here, which is really not going to work out for him. It's just wasting a bit of time. But he'll be able to just garrison that relic up and reap the benefits of the gold trickle. Altair doubling back, try and take a fight before the spears join, because as long as he's trading veteran knight versus royal knight and against Sipper here, it's a great fight for him, having that castle age tech over his opponent. And in fact, he's going to try and bait another charge again. Vortex's eco has been not really picking up as quickly as I think he would have liked, but that commitment to the man-at-arms early and delaying that farm eco has possibly set him back a bit, because behind a quick farm opening, English often are going to take a quick second town centre or quick castle age with King's Palace, which is basically a second town centre build anyway, because it's a town centre landmark. So his score is quite low relative to the other three players, even though I don't think he's lost a terribly large amount of units. He only lost a small amount there, and you know, most of the fighting around here was really just a big standoff with no one really losing much at all. The upgraded outpost too. It should be quite tough for only camps to try and actually take early sacred sites here. Altair's gone for another town centre. He's also trying to pressure only camps berries over here. He's taking his first food upgrade as well as his huntable food upgrade. These villages are going to be cut down pretty quickly, I think. Well, actually, Altair's letting them go. So, to be honest, killing the tower and killing the mills is worth nowhere near as much as killing 5 villages this early on into the game. I think later on it probably won't matter as much, be pretty even because the costs are pretty much the same, but there is only the one town centre so far for only fans. So Vortex streaming forward, he's got himself walled off on this side. Trying to lock out Pleco from all this gold over here, making sure that he and Altair have a much easier time of getting on it. While Pleco nearly losing the knight there, but he's aware enough that he can just draw him back. And he still hasn't taken chivalry yet though, so trying to charge into the knights, into the spears like that's not the greatest for him. Some Janissaries here for only camps, and these guys are actually like a gunpowder crossbowmen really, because they're designed to be anti-cavalry. They are unique to the Ottomans as sort of, I believe they can still get crossbows. Yeah, they can. It's also the free mangonels being used there by Altair, but by only camps, but Altair is just massing up knights and still there's that veteran upgrade and the bonus health tech that the French get over the other civs on their knights, so it's very hard to find something that to actually front line against these. He's even using chivalry on his knights. So I don't believe Pleco's taken just yet. But Pleco also has knights with a huge health pool. Actually, no, it's Pleco that's taken the French exclusive health upgrade. It's not there yet for Altair, who does actually have the upgraded knights otherwise. But even still, his front line is now a little lacking to the other compared to the other French players. It's a lot of spearmen there for Vortex though, and he's got some nice support with the longbows. So Team Real chasing back Team 7 TCGC. Mangonel being switched to fire onto this ranged ball. We'll be able to get a lot of damage done, but doesn't look like it's going to get any kills unless it can get one last shot off, which it will do. So it will pick off 4 or 5 crossbows there. I mean, longbows there. There's plenty of spears here for Vortex, so he's killed a lot of the cavalry, but there is still plenty of the knights left for Pleco. That health upgrade coming in really handy, and he can also regenerate quite a lot of health now that he's taken chivalry. Vortex continuing to wall more and more of the map up. He just wants to make sure it's tough for Pleco to get around with these knights, and that he and his teammate have a bit of a heads up as to where he's heading. I'll tell you, with a market there right next to the trade post. But I don't think he's actually gone for another market anywhere to actually create a trader economy. Vortex pushing forward, taking out a tower there. Don't really have any huge value. Now Altair has his knight upgrade as well. Deciding it's not worth going in, considering that's mostly Janissary crossbowmen, and they've got a front line with a couple of man-at-arms to support them as well. So Pleco charging forward, picking off a single unit there, but he's going to back off again. Just keep healing through this. Altair coming forward with his knights. And Cam's trying to rout the enemy here. There's a keep being placed. It's going to be cancelled because villagers are only rocking up just as the army's turning up from only Cams. Pleco going for a charge. And only Cam's trying to engage from side on. Try and support his allies' knights as much as possible. Big infantry ball under a little bit of threat with the Mangonel, but they are being kited further and further back, so it's constantly having to repack. There's not a lot of health left on it either. A nice shot there. So Vortex having to get behind the safety of his walls. Should have probably pulled the Springall back a little bit earlier than that because it just gets picked off. So only Cams and Pleco now have control of this sacred site. Pleco with a massive gold bank at the moment. He's got no way to really spend that. He probably just needs to focus on farming for a little bit. Vortex getting a fortress, himself nice and safe. Sorry, a keep. And the villagers being picked off there, but Pleco trying to keep Altair chasing after him for the moment because his teammate Anicams is creeping forward with a nice composition to deal with these knights. A mix of ranged and man-at-arms. A couple of knights going to fall there for Altair, and he's forced off the gold mine. Vortex is coming over to try and support him now. And Newcap's attempting to get the sacred site. And this UI is an easy way to actually tell how many relics people have got. I don't think there is. is still sitting on more gold than anybody else. And Onlycams has decided it's time to start destroying some military buildings here, slow down the opponent's production. Also have to spend a bit of wood replacing these buildings. Should be able to clean up a pair of these stables. Got one of his mangonels back there. He's trying to gather gold increasingly further towards his opponents, all the way over on Onlycam's side of the map. Well, Altoyaz sort of walled himself in here, so he's nice and safe on that second town centre, but the problem is this base is now under a bit of threat because Pleco and Onlycams could choose to basically cut it off and destroy it. A couple of villagers being rallied back towards the main base, or towards a mine over here. Probably that gold mine actually, and they're all just being picked off. Looks like Pleco's trying to lay the smackdown here on Altair, so it's a lot of idler villagers here. About 25 of them. This is not good for Altair. The score's dipping below everybody else's at the moment. Well, looks like he has managed to catch the mangonel, so he'll back off now and wait for Vortex to help support him and try and bait Cams or Pleco into a fight against the pair of them. They probably want to try and actually harass somewhere, raid somewhere in their opponent's bases if they can. You know, throw a little wall up here and just send, you know, 3 or 4 knights or even horsemen to go and raid. At the moment, sort of locked up trying to defend, and Altair's second town centre is just being gobbled up at the moment. His first base is pretty well defended here. I mean, he's got the keep on the south side protecting all that production. Vortex is adding a keep on the north side, and your starting town centre is just generally more tanky than a expansion one. Even more tanky than like a landmark expansion one like the King's Palace. Yeah, almost 3 times the health of a regular town centre. And now Onlycams is actually bringing walls up here to try and prevent any trading. Well, it looks like Vortex is going to try and use stone walls, try and lock Pleco out of control of this trading post. And Onlycams is attempting to trade with another market. He and Pleco setting up with cross-map markets there. So they'll be able to go into the late game with some really nice market economy, irrespective of what's going on with these neutral ones. Though it looks like they've helped lock out this one here. He's also trying to go for the sacred site. Altair's down, but definitely not out. He's got a good knight count at the moment. Still got a little bit in the bank. A little bit down in terms of population compared to the other players at the moment. In terms of current incomes, it does certainly look like there is a slight advantage for 7 town centre gigachads. They do have control of 2 of the sacred sites. Trying to cut through over here on the left because they can deny a lot of gold with both Vortex and Altair on gold mines over here. They are going to need spearmen desperately to clean this up. And Pleco's a bit stuck here now with those spearmen trapping them in. So these knights will ultimately win the fight though, being French and having all those upgrades, but even still, it's not the most cost-effective of fights, and they're busy trying to cut through the palisade. Still another pair of knights working away at one of them there. So that'll give time for that keep to finish up. I'll tell you, it's just playing it a little passively at the moment, still stacking up his own knight count. And Pleco a little unsure of what to do with these guys at the moment, because he is trying to go for a keep on the central sacred site himself. Deciding instead if I try and hit up here, I might be able to deny a stone wall going up, but he's going to be a tad late. So he's going to have to try and support Cam's here, who's done a good job helping him pick off Vortex's army there. Altair setting up his mass knights comp to support Vortex, who's going to go for Berkshire Palace, his Age 4 landmark. Right in the center of the map here, he wants to be able to protect this gold mine, or both of these gold mines. There's all that gold up for grabs, and it's going to mean we see that he gets Age 4 out of it, and he also gets the benefit of Network of Castles, which increases the attack speed by 40%, so it's actually stronger than the Tower and Town Center version. Well, it's stronger than the Tower version, which is only 15%. Well, does it scale with age now? Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it scales with age now. And it looks like Pleco and Onlycam's attributing to one another. Just keeping their resources nice and even between themselves. Really just being picked off there by Pleco, but Altair is going to be able to clean this up. Both those knights. There's still some more hidden away though, so this is a good idea because that stone mine, once these knights back off, he'll be able to clean that up and deny even some of the gold gatherers here perhaps. And while this is going on, Pleco's just pushed straight onto Vortex's army because the spears have been a little bit absent as well, and there's a lot of knights out of this composition, so all that siege being picked off, and Pleco's just going to back off. He's going to take a lot of damage on his knights, but I think it's been worth it because he's sniped 2 or 3 mangonels there. And Cams is really pushing into Altair at the moment. These guys having to rely on a lot of defensive keeps around the military production just to make sure they're not going to get raided in this process, and it's meant that 7 TCGC are really placing their keeps quite offensively in comparison, taking a lot of map control. It will be very hard to secure resources for Team Real. Now going to try and bring everything together and take a good fight here. Mangonel's actually landing most of those shots on the knights rather than the infantry here, but now here we go. A lot of the spearmen being taken down with that. Altair is still in the lead with the overall knight count though, I think, which is quite scary for the others. Got Pleco and Onlycams do have a nice mix of units here. Been able to take out most of that infantry ball of Vortexes at the moment. Just fighting on the edge of the keep as well, so the beauty of that is that sprinkled attack on the knights. But it looks like a couple of knights here harassing Altair's Vortex's base, but it is Altair's little gathering spot. So Pleco still being a real pain in the ass to Altair's gathering at the moment. Most of these knights in tow here. Vortex actually has gone for some trebuchets to end up clearing out all of these keeps, but at the same time they're not the most cost-effective siege to actually have in a proper fight between units, so they just get cleaned up there by Onlycams, which is not good for him. Onlycams still has a bunch of upgraded Janissaries here with man-at-arms there as well. The Knights for Altair is just chasing the Knights for Pleco at the moment, which is not good for Altair. He seems to have the most expensive army on the map, and he's just struggling to wield it really. He needs to try and raid here somewhere, because at the moment there's a really nice trader economy, particularly for Onlycams, but looks like Pleco is about to really start his up too. Onlycams actually trading some gold to Pleco to help prop his ally up. Just look at his resource bank at the moment, it's unreal. Altair still above 100 population at the moment. Still got a reasonable squad of knights here, but he's stuck in age 2 for the time, sorry, age 3 for the time being, while everyone else in the game is in age 3. So he's stuck in age 3 and everyone else in the game is in age 4. So he really needs to play a bit of catch up here. You're going to start falling behind on things like blacksmith upgrades. And, you know, range tech to actually support these units with, whereas the knights over here for Pleco already have their damage upgrade, the ranged upgrades, the armor upgrades for both range damage and melee damage won't be too far away. Probably not going to worry about Steeled Arrow because he hasn't really fielded any range for quite some time now. And only cams. Oh, it's actually lacking a couple of his Castle Age upgrades still, but his eco is in a wonderful spot. This stone wall attempt never quite finished off here for Vortex. And now only Cam's pushing forward with a nice varied composition here. He's even got some Rebordoquin in the mix, so these guys, nice anti-infantry siege unit. They are actually attacking the keep for the moment. It's not all that good. Keep now actually has burning oil, so it's extra strong against units fighting underneath it. I think Andycams has to an extent wasted this army here, but with support of Pleco now, they should be able to clean this up quite well. Especially because Pleco has that damage upgrade advantage over Altair at the moment. Altair going to be able to get his Imperial Age. Oh no, he's just spent a little bit too much now. There we go, so he is going to go Imperial. Where is he going for it? Red Palace in the middle of his base. It actually reduces the cost of his range and stables units for structures inside the influence radius. This forward keep from only camps being picked off, but it's taken 5 trebuchets from Vortex, which is pretty expensive commitment, and he's going to need to find a way to bring them up, take out more keeps with them. I suppose this is probably the least well defended sacred site here. And these guys have only got a couple of minutes before they can actually, before it's over. They need to try and clear one of these sacred sites out. Start winning back some space. The Trebs going to be able to take out the keep pretty quickly here. I'll tell you, using villagers to try and kill the rams here, but there's a lot of knights there, so he's going to have to back off. On top of that, he's also in range of the keep, so this stone wall not going to last much longer, and he probably needs to try and put another section of stone wall down here, or even just repair the gate through this. Oh, I'll tell you, pushing forward with Vortex, trying to bait Pleco into overextending here, while Onycamp's just adding more and more keeps to help defend himself and his ally. And the stone wall has fallen here for Vortex, so now his keep's under a bit of threat. There's only one gold mine left over here though. And, these guys in Team Real really need to try and get a market line set up at some point here. And they really need to try and break this sacred site hole. They're creeping forward. There are the great bombards there for our Ottoman player, sorry. 1 minute left on the sacred site. So it's now or never for Team Real. A shitload of knights here for both of our French players. Great bombard being used to great effect. It's extremely hard to just about waste one of these knights. So our English-French combo having to back off in the face of our French-Ottoman combo. towers being one-shotted there by the Great Bombard. Helped really reduce the amount of units actually receiving an attack speed buff here for the English player. It's an interesting choke to be fighting on. And there's still not really any way for either player from Team Real to get on top of one of these sacred sites. They probably need to go for this one over here on the right. Camps is just parking villagers at every one of the sacred sites, and GG. 7 Town Center Giga Chads do manage to win with a sacred site victory.